catch that Jesus became human in that point to die,
Yeah.
right? Jesus has always been fully God, fully man, right? And that modalism would be, what?
Wasn't always fully human. He was
Okay.
fully human when he was born.
Yeah, at conception, he became fully
At the incarnation.
Yeah.
right? But we don't separate his deity from his humanity at that point. So some doctrines would teach that Jesus, God himself, became human at that point on the cross. And I don't think he was just saying it in a different way. I think that was pretty worth mentioning anyway. But pretty serious deal though. Like, and I know when I think about Jesus reading those prophetic scriptures, knowing what he's going to go through, right? And he knew beforehand what that Roman crucifixion entailed, and yet he still said, "Your will, not mine." Right? So that's a pretty serious thing. Verse 24.
You, Barbara? Me.
I read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay, is
you.
it me?
Yeah.
When they crucified him, they divided his garments, casting lots for them to determine what every man should take.
Now it was the 3rd hour, and they crucified him.
And the inscription of his accusation was written above, "The King of the Jews."
With him they also crucified 2 robbers, one on his right and the other on his left.
So the scripture was fulfilled which says, "And he was numbered with the transgressors."
It was 9 o'clock in the morning. Not sure whether that adds to it. When a Jewish day starts at 6, sun up. So it's the 3rd hour, 9 o'clock in the morning. You got people walking up to this hillside, the procession cross, beaten, battered, and now at 9 o'clock in the morning you've got, and those who passed by blasphemed him, wagging their heads and saying, "Aha, you who destroy the temple and build it in 3 days."
Save yourself and come down from the cross.
Likewise, the chief priests also, mocking among themselves with the scribes, said, "He saved others, himself he cannot save."
Let the Christ, the King of Israel, descend now from the cross, that we may see and believe. And those who were crucified with him reviled him.
So just think about what that meeting is going to be like. Like great white throne judgment for these Jews that rejected Christ. They're saying the very thing that would save them. That Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God. Like they're saying it, but they're saying it in mocking, but they're saying it in unbelief. Think about it couldn't be any clearer for them, and yet Satan has them bound in that way.
Now when the 6th hour had come, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour.
And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani," which is translated, my God, why have you forsaken me?"
Where are we?
35.
Some of those who stood by when they heard that said, "Look, he is calling for Elijah."
Then someone ran and filled a sponge full of sour wine, put it on a reed, and offered it to him to drink, saying, "Let him alone. Let us see if Elijah will come to take him down."
And Jesus cried out with a loud voice and breathed his last.
And the veil of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom.
So when the centurion who stood opposite him saw that he cried out like this and breathed his last, he said, "Truly this man was the Son of God."
There were also women looking on from afar, among whom were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James the Less and of Joseph, and Salome.
who also followed him and ministered to him when he was in Galilee, and many other women who came up with him to Jerusalem.
Alright. So that's the account of Mark. Thoughts, observations? We've only got a couple minutes left. Thinking of some of the emotions. I mean, you got 3 hours of darkness. I mean, we've had eclipses before, right? I mean, what's going through our minds when all of a sudden it's dark and it's not supposed to be dark? Right, I mean, it's a pretty significant thing that we gotta process, right?
Kind of makes me think of, what was I watching? Something where eclipses were associated with judgment, like pagan cultures, but I mean, they're probably like, uh-oh.
Yeah, right, I mean, even
God
for,
is not okay with whatever, you know,
Yeah.
just because I think, like, the Mayans, remember we were, anyway, long, messy story. They were sacrificing people on the altar because of a solar eclipse, because they assumed that the gods were angry.
Mhm.
And then in Korea, if there was a solar eclipse, they believed the same thing. So I was just wondering if perhaps maybe they were like associated that with, oh, God is not okay.
I mean, superstition, if
Yeah,
nothing
that's what
else, I mean,
like,
something's
eclipse
going
would
on.
have been
that-
like a pretty big,
Yeah.
big thing. Most people would have been terrified.
I mean, it's enough that you have people, Jewish people calling out, like, look, he's calling for Elijah, and they're processing through their prophetic eschatology and scriptures. You've got a Roman, who I would probably assume has very little scripture other than what he's heard at the trials and different things, and truly this man was the Son of God. I mean, he's processing what little he knows, and I would advocate that that's the King of the Jews, the seed of David, Davidic covenant. So I mean, if you quiet yourself with that setting, there's a lot going on, even the women, right, sitting there, like, standing there watching after all of that, and the breathing, like, he breathed his last. Like, I mean, there's no question he was dead. For me. For you. For everyone, if they were to hear and accept that. That's maybe where we'll leave it.
That idea of him not defending himself, not saying anything, you know, all that mockery of just being able to ignore all of that and just keep doing what God had asked him to do. But then, yeah.
I think the Roman might not necessarily have meant what we think he meant when he said, truly this man was the Son of God, because English adds in the,
Are you reading your study notes there?
no? I was reading.
Have you read your study note?
I'm reading Strong's Concordance.
Yep.
But it just says that he was a son of a god,
Mhm.
or a son of the god. But we, not necessarily. He wouldn't have been saying it like a Jew would have been saying it, necessarily, yeah.
Hmm.
Because they believed in demigods and stuff. We've talked about that before. But
Could the
you're right.
Davidic covenant have come up there when they were mocking?
Yeah, he could have,
Yeah, oh, I mean, that's good.
but he is Roman.
Part of me thinks, I mean, when Jesus started his ministry, right, I mean, he knew the outcome of it, right, but he still, like, that 3.5 years, was it worth it? You know, 3.5 years into it, and to find yourself rejected, you know, like beaten, every ounce of your life taken, was it worth it, right? And he would, I mean, scripture, he would say yes. Well, why don't we transition to prayer? This week